I am so excited to welcome you all to the stage. I'm going to turn on your mics so that way we'll be able to hear you. And I am going to let you all go down the line here. And actually, I'm going to change the slide because I realize my face is still up there. Because we are thrilled to have the Confetti Market Collective here today. So if you could take a quick 2 seconds, name, where we can find you on Instagram, and the answer to your name tag question.
Hi, good morning. I'm Allison Smith-Mackey, owner of Pop-Up Confetti. And you can find me on Instagram at popupconfetti_. And my answer to my question is, when are you most vibrant and at night?
I think there were a couple of other people who said that too. Hayden.
Hi, everybody. My name's Hayden Ireland. Thank you. And you can find me on Instagram at Hayden Ireland Art. And my question was, what's your favorite color? And I couldn't pick, so I put all of them.
Yes, love that.
There you go.
Good morning. I'm Roxanne Schofield. You can find me on Instagram at This Is Roxanne, and mine is also when are you most vibrant? And I said in nature.
Nice, great.
My name's May Gonzalez. I own So Brave Sewing Studio. You can find me on So Brave on Facebook and Instagram. My question is, what's your favorite color? Green. It's in my birthstone color, so
I love that.
just stuck.
Your birthstone color. Are you this month too?
Yeah.
What day?
29th.
Yes. So,
Hi, my name is Julie Terborg. You can find me at Julie Ellen Designs. And my question was, what's your favorite color? And this kind of goes against the idea here, but white. So it's still vibrant and lovely.
I love that. I love that. That's fantastic. Julie, I'm actually going to start with you, and then I'm going to, we'll work our way back, if that's okay. I really want to, because our theme is vibrant today, one of the things that I was thinking about is like, what does that word, vibrant, mean to you personally, and how does it influence the work that you do?
So vibrant, I think I take as an emotion instead of colors. And for my business, I feel vibrance and happiness when I can work with a customer to design a piece, or how they feel when they see my pieces, wear my pieces. And so the vibrancy equates to happiness to me.
I love that. Thank you. May, when you think about vibrant, how does it influence you? And what does that mean to you?
Vibrance, it brings out like my inner child. It's like kind of like restoring the little girl in me. It brings me joy. I get inspired by being surrounded by color and pattern. Yeah.
Well, you understood the assignment too, because that whole outfit, yes, I love it. Roxanne, vibrancy. Think about that. Your own unique perspective on vibrancy. What is that, when you hear that word, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so for me, vibrancy is kind of like energy, like in me, energy in me, and then I'm really inspired by the world and nature, as I said, but kind of the energy flowing from like the earth to us and the universe and things like that. So for me, vibrancy really is like an energy flow.
I love that. Hayden, how about you? Vibrancy?
Yeah, so when I think of something as being vibrant, I think of it as also being very playful. So I connected with your inner child statement. So how that affects me is that I try to work playfulness into my creative process and also the finished product. And I do that by taking myself out of my comfort zone, trying something new. I also like to sometimes paint with my hands, just connect to the freedom and the just absolute joy of being a child. So I like to tap into the inner child as well.
Thank you. Allison?
For me, vibrancy is vitality. It's an energy force. but it's also the fountain of youth. So I feel like when you are connected to it, you are connected to your gift and your light, because we've all met people who lack vibrancy, and you tend to shy away from them because they drain your energy. So I like to be in a room full of creative people who are vibrant and exude energy in your creative endeavors, your designs, and your perspective.
Awesome. Hayden, you're a printmaker.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you talk a little bit about your process and how you use various printing techniques to convey kind of that inner child spirit that you were just talking about, and that playfulness.
Absolutely. And I did make cards for myself to keep myself on track, so you're welcome, everyone. So currently, the majority of the printing that I do actually takes place in my studio, where I print all my artwork for myself. But I am hoping to expand that in the near future. I'm looking into printing on apparel and printing my designs on different home goods, things like that, which is very exciting. So keep an eye out. And then did you ask about the experimentation?
You can.
Thing like that? Okay, I'm gonna keep
going.
going on the questions
You got
that
this.
were given to me.
Just let it take you.
How does experimentation become part of my creative process? So it's actually a huge part of what I do, and mostly that's because I'm also a painter. So I'm a printmaker and I'm a painter. And I like to paint on all different kinds of things. So shoes, furniture, canvases, walls. Like, I always like to see what can I paint on next. So that's a huge part of what I do. It's just a lot of fun for me. And I do feel like as artists, we should always be continuing to experiment, because I think it keeps you falling in love with what you do over and over again and finding new ways to do that.
I love that. Thank you so much. And May, one of the things that you said too about that inner child, and I wanted to think about that too, because you use fabric, you use texture. So talk a little bit about what your medium is as an artist and how you use that to make sure that everything comes together visually and vibrantly.
Okay. So. Oh Lord.
What do you do?
I sew. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
Okay. Can you repeat?
So Brave is SEW too. So I wanted to say that because you said on Instagram people can find you at So Brave.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your process. Like when you have a piece in front of you,
Okay.
how do you start?
Okay.
How do you even begin to do what you do? Because a sewing machine to me seems daunting.
I get that a lot. But I like to buy like a piece of fabric that's like, if the print speaks to me, I buy it and then I work around it. And it's more of a feeling. I've gone from like florals and then visiting my home of Puerto Rico that I hadn't been to since I was a baby, and I was inspired by them and have moved through color, like Guatemalan prints, and changed the whole types of.
Do you do largely like clothing pieces? Do you do wall hanging? Like tell me a little bit about that process.
Okay.
Like what are some of the things that you make?
So I'm self-taught, and I do make bags and whatnot. I experiment with clothing. I teach sewing lessons. That's what I focus on a lot more now. But yeah, I make bags.
How does a fabric speak to you? You said it's a lot about like you look at something and do you just automatically know what you're going to be doing?
No, I enjoy. It's a bad. I enjoy prints and colors, and I don't know. It's whatever I can force out of. Like if it's something I want to try, or like I need a wallet, then I'll make a wallet and present it, because I don't like selling things that I wouldn't use.
Oh.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Julie, you also use color and material, right? So talk a little bit about your process and your medium as an artist, and what considerations you take into account when you're creating wearable art?
I like, and I'm sorry, my high voice. Okay. So I'm inspired by my family and friends, and I try and make things that I think they would want to wear. I do, as a business, and you do have to think about what's on trend, what's in style, but a driving factor for me is my family or what I like to do. So currently I'm doing a lot of florals because my mom loves to garden, and flowers make her happy, so I can go out into her garden and pick the flowers and preserve them, and she's so excited to see them in the pieces. So her happiness brings me happiness, and I think flowers are just really happy.
Yeah. Did you create what you're wearing?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So
yes.
can you just like do a little
Oh.
earring show? Yeah, I love that.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you. So Roxanne, nature. Let's talk a little bit about that. You do primarily watercolor, other mediums, other things you explore. Where do you get your inspiration? And you said nature, but like what in particular helps you create in your medium?
Yeah, so I'm really drawn to watercolor. I guess like the last 6 or 7 months, I've been doing a study just on my own. This is kind of new to me. I've always been like creative and felt the pull for creativity and painting and whatever, but watercolor, at least for me, is so forgiving and fluid. Like if I put a brush stroke down and it's not vibrant enough or there's too much water, like I can fix it, and it sort of tells me on the page, what am I going to be doing next? In nature, I'm just kind of constantly in awe of the vibrant colors that you see, not all the time, every day, but if you're outside and you see a particularly amazing sunset, and it's like these bright pops of pinks and oranges and purples, and I'm just thinking like, it doesn't look real. Or we like to go on, hikes here and there, and seeing a flower in the springtime in Virginia, like we have such beautiful flowers here in the spring. And the symmetry and the colors, the like in nature colors that you're seeing that are just so vibrant. And I just think when I close my eyes and I'm stressed out, or I don't know, the kids are going crazy, and I'm like, where would I like to be, or where would I like us all to be? And it's always in a beautiful field of meadow flowers with like maybe a water feature nearby and the mountains in the background, and maybe there's a beautiful sunset happening too. So I tend to gravitate towards that.
Watercolor is a medium that you said it's very fluid. Mm-hmm. Does it bother you to not kind of have control over what's coming out?
I need to not have control at all. It's like when I sort of first started painting a few years ago, I was using acrylics, and I love acrylic, but I'm not what I would call very good at painting. And so I felt like I didn't really have control of what was going on the page. So with the freedom with watercolor and like layering and whatever you want to do with it, it's almost not control, but more clarity for like the final product.
I love that. So I'm sure wrangling artists, Allison, is not something that you can control either. I feel like every time I walk into your place at Papa Confetti, whether it was in the Carytown location or where you are now in Bon Air, that there is a fluid motion through everything. So talk about how you started this collective, how you find your artists, and how you bring all of these things to light.
So I started initially, my company was called Orchid Noir, and it was very boho and neutral earth tones. But during the pandemic, when there was a lack of joy, I wasn't able to go out and do markets as I had grown accustomed to doing, and I was no longer customer facing. And when e-commerce should have been thriving, mine was flatlining. So I had to rethink of how I wanted to present my collection at the time, and I introduced this bold, new, vibrant collection, and it outpaced anything I had ever done before. So that told me that the world needed something different than what I was initially offering. And so I was vending with my new collection, and a boutique owner asked if I wanted to present my collection in her store, and I blurted out, I want my own store. But I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, it was definitely a dream, but I just blurted it out, and she got it into motion. And so she introduced me to someone, and I opened the store with a vivid idea of what I wanted it to look and feel like, because for me, when you travel, the most incredible places to go are the markets. I like to see the culture and the vibe of where you are, and I wanted to recreate that in my own way in Richmond, because I love a good market here, and I think there's just immense talent and creativity. So I painted a picture in words of what I envisioned the space to be, and I started DMing local artists, either friends that I vended with, or artists whose work I admired, and just pretty much sold the vision of like, would you want to participate in this? And I got a ton of no's. Like, people, because it was the pandemic, everything's unsure, we don't know what's gonna happen. I'm selling you a dream, really. But when I built out the store, I did have 15 yeses, so 15 brave women joined me in opening a collective of local artists, and it's since grown to now 27. I have 25 female Virginia local artists and 2 guys.
Shout out to all of them.
So my inspiration for the space was just what would get you out of your house and inspired to shop during a pandemic. Because when we opened, we were still wearing masks. And so I wanted it to feel light and airy and childlike and playful. So I included a confetti bar so you could come make ornaments and poppers and bookmarks. I wanted it to be pastels so that you weren't overwhelmed by the space, but you could really appreciate the artist's work that's there presented, and just started hosting events and growing awareness to it. And so these fantastic women have joined me for the ride, and I so appreciate all that you bring to vibrancy and Pop-Up Confetti.
I love that. And we love your confetti bar. If you came to our celebration at the last one we had at the old Studio 23 before they moved, Allison provided all the confetti, and it's probably my favorite moment that because they didn't care because they were leaving. They're like, we don't care if you get all the confetti up. So, we've talked a little bit about inspiration sources and kind of motivation sources. Is there ever a time, and I'll start with Hayden on this one, is there ever a time that you don't feel motivated? Like, how do you stay motivated to create and stay inspired?
So that's a big one. I do feel like there's a give and take with creative energy. So I do try to tell myself sometimes that I don't have to make anything, and try to let myself rest, because I think that's huge for artists and human beings just in general. But then there are other times when I know that I need to give myself a friendly nudge to get me going. And usually that honestly is like a self-pep talk that I give myself. And it's like, just start, just do something. I don't care if it's good, right? Just start right now. And then I go from there. And I do remind myself that this is what I love, which is the easy thing. I don't really have to remind myself that. But I do think that's important to kind of remind yourself, you're doing what you want to do, so do it, right? Get going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. Thank you. Julie, I want to find out a little bit, not necessarily about motivation, but when you are thinking about the impact, because what you were talking about, flowers and nature and being inspired by what your friends and your family would want, what impact do you hope people will have when they interact with your art? What's the impact?
I'm going to tear up with this one. I started, I make jewelry as an art therapy for myself. And I just am lucky enough that people have enjoyed the pieces, you know, and I was urged by my family to go out and sell them because they were sick of it clogging up the house. Okay, Julie, you have enough gemstones. Julia, like, do something. So, you know, that's when I started my Etsy journey, and then it grew into my own shop, and then networking. But my current collection, I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. Keep going.
I've met some wonderful people in my area, and with the flower jewelry, it was happy and vibrant and lovely, and somebody had a tragedy in their life, and they asked if they could preserve some flowers from the recognition event and have me make a piece of jewelry for their friend. And it was such an honor. It was such a pressure because it needed to be special, you know? You lose someone you want to remember. And I pushed through. I had moments where I failed. Pieces where nothing was good enough. Nothing was going to be good enough. But then I realized this is meant to be happy and a great memory. And so that pushed me through, and to create that happiness, the individual reached out, and it made them feel very good because that person's with them. They're wearing a memento and asked me to make some more pieces for their friends. So that made me happy, and to touch somebody's life like that, and I think it's special, and I'm honored that somebody would trust me.
That's beautiful. Don't apologize. That's beautiful. Art creates connection. It's lovely. May, when you were talking before about, like, you've kind of found different prints and you've done different things and been inspired by them, whether it's a wallet or a bag or there's actual pieces that you're creating, how do you hope other people feel when they receive or they buy a piece that you have done? What impact do you think it has?
I like to call it like walking artwork. There's all kinds of art, but like if you buy a piece, it's like you want it to be just something unique, you know, that you can add to an outfit. I have a story with my sewing business. You know, it started, a lot of life has happened to me, and in sewing it has helped me take control of life, you know. So I like to, a lot of people know it's So Brave, there's a story behind it. So with that, and you know about me and my story, you're like,
Tell your story.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
right.
Tell your story.
Yeah, I didn't want to trauma dump or anything.
This is it.
But it started with the loss of my first child. I'm gonna be 38, and he had trisomy 13, 32 weeks, and then after that, the way I grieved during my grief, I started sewing, self-taught, disastrous. That's why I like teaching now to prevent those frustrations, and people are very grateful. But I started sewing, created an Etsy shop, making stuff for things I couldn't afford at that moment for my next son, and sewing has just been a really good like therapy. I am in therapy now, but also that really helped bring out life. There's a lot.
That's beautiful.
Sewing, and so I'm like, if you see that in me, if I can share that with you by teaching you, by all means, whatever I can offer you, I try to offer people. So
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Roxanne, before we move into our final question, I just want you to think about the impact of when you say you sometimes like go to these other places or you're thinking about these things and you're creating these scenes. What impact do you think, or do you hope that people take away from your work?
I guess my hope is, I'm specifically thinking like right now I'm really loving to do the landscapes and the, you know, lovely idyllic mountain scenes and all of that, that it might not be like a real place on the picture, or maybe it is inspired by a real place, but it makes you just sort of imagine and wonder what that feeling might be like being in that place. And, you know, when you close your eyes and think about if you're in a situation that you're not loving in that moment, taking you away and taking you somewhere vibrant and lovely and kind of at peace.
I love that. Thank you. So as we wrap up, because I want to leave plenty of time for questions from everybody else, I would like each of you to just reflect on what words of wisdom or words of observation, because you've talked a lot about a lot of different things, right? Connection, how you grieve. I mean, there's a healing in art. What is the kind of overarching message you want to leave about infusing these practices, and maybe even to be more vibrant in life? I'd love to hear that. Allison, I want to start with you.
For me, the importance is the impact that I want you to have by coming to the store is connecting with your local community and the work that they do. This is their life work. This is their joy. It is helping them, but in turn, it's a storied good. You're not just purchasing something that's mass produced. It's giving back to your community, connecting with your community, and escapism, really. Sometimes we just need a moment of respite, and I want that to be a joyful one. For me, joy is intentional, so I want you to choose it, and I want to infuse it in everything that you touch in a space that I created in a safe and fun and loving way with you and your family. So it's just my little piece of heaven that I wanted to create with such fantastic women.
I love that. Thank you. And pass it to Hayden.
Okay. Trying to cook. Oh, yeah, this one is a little tricky. Got to get closer. I'm trying to think of the takeaway from me. So much of my art focuses on taking seemingly little things, because I actually believe that little things are big things. So little everyday things like, going to the park, remembering to take your meds that morning, showing up somewhere even if you're anxious. I like to take those things and elevate them and celebrate them, because being a person can be really hard sometimes, and life can be really messy, but I really do believe that there's beauty in that mess, and so that's what I try to share with my art. And I want people to look at my art, read it. A lot of my art has words in it and messages of self-compassion and big joy and stuff like that. And I want people to look at my art and see a bit of themselves in it and know that wherever you're at is okay. And yeah, I think that just like what Allison does with her store, like things need to be celebrated and given the attention that I think things need. And if we celebrate it, other people celebrate it, and then we're all celebrating them together. And I think that's what it's all about.
Beautiful. Thank you. Roxanne?
So I was telling all of these lovelies earlier that I've been struggling to embrace the fact that I am an artist, just because I'm also self-taught, and sort of this started as a hobby. It is my favorite hobby. So sort of leaning into thinking that no one's going to want to see this, or this has been done a million times, or there's billions of artists out there, like whatever is unique in your brain, someone's going to want to see it. And just thinking about failing, like in the failure is like a journey, right? Like if I have an idea in my mind and I put it down and it's like perfect and beautiful, I'm like, okay, that was great. But that's just pretty and lovely. If I start doing something and it's not at all what I thought it was going to be, or I think it's hideous, or I think I've failed, that's sort of where the journey takes me to something new that I never ever would have thought of in a million years. And so any sort of thought that comes into your mind, like give it credit, because someone else will.
Love that. Thank you. May?
I can relate to all of those. I will say, like, in 2020, I had like a, I don't know if the word is epiphany, but I'm like, yo, life is gonna keep lifing. So I've always had a dream of teaching and like just creating. And I'm like, if it's in your spirit, try it. Like she said, if you don't try, you don't know if you're gonna fail or not. I mean, of course, have caution, like if it's gonna bring harm, you know. But really, you only get one life, try it, you know.
I love that. Yes, yes, to all that. All right, Julie.
I like you said, May, I can relate to everything, and that's set up here, and it's tough being an artist, or whether it's a hobby or your business. The theme, or I guess my slogan for myself with my business is to spread a little sunshine. And it's been kind of a dark, sad place we've been in for a couple years, and it's important to spread that sunshine. And if it's in a little earring, that's terrific. It doesn't have to be something big. When I see, Roxanne's artwork, or I use your wallet, or I use, a card from Hayden, like it's the little things matter, and spreading that sunshine will start to glow around the world.
I love that. Everybody write down those quotes. Like, the little things matter. You have the life, try it. Right? Like, all of these things are beautiful. We are running very low on time. We have time for like one question, if there is one, and if not, I have one. So, okay, Gail, go for it. Just holler it out.
I will, yeah. I'm going to ask Hayden this because you three ladies have just alluded to this. Do you remember how and when you decided you had the heart, or I'm going to use the word courage, to share your work with the world?
That's a big one, because they're all big ones, apparently, as I'm saying. Like what Roxanne was just saying, it's hard to say the words, I'm an artist, right? I've always made things. It's always brought me a ton of joy. But to say, like, I'm going to do this as my full-time gig and other people are going to like it too is huge. And so I think, like I said, I've been making ever since I could, right? Different mediums and things like that, just playing around. I'm trying to think of the moment. Well, okay, I'll go with this. I'm going on impulse here. It was just a couple years ago. I don't know what happened in my brain, but I said, I'm signing up for an art market. I'm ready now. And, that's a big, scary thing to do. I don't know if you guys have ever done art markets. It's terrifying. It's wonderful. I love it when people come up and it's all of the above, everything at once. Because it's like anytime anyone has bought my art, it's huge. It fills my soul up. And it's not just because they paid for it. It's because they connected to it and wanted to own it and look at it every day. And they want to come up and talk to me about it and share a personal experience with me that they were inspired by with their art, or who they gave it to and why. Like, that's the thing that I love so much, is everything has a story. And I love being a safe place that people can share that with me. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but it just happened one day and I don't know what it was. But I think I was sick of just doing it for me, because I always tell everyone else to share their story and their art, and I wasn't doing it myself. And that's not fair to me or to anyone else, because I think the world needs your art. I don't care what it is. It needs it. So
Love that.
do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. As we wrap up, our team is going to come around, and everybody, you deserve confetti, just FYI. And there's a little scan. Take one of these flyers with you. There's a confetti happy hour at this. And if you haven't already taken a picture of everybody's Instagram, please do so. We are going to be sharing all these creations throughout our socials as well. Ladies, thank you so very much. This was beautiful. This is the shop in Bon Air. Quite lovely. As you can see, it is a complete party in here. Look at this beautiful one here. So Roxanne's work, May's work, Hayden's work, Big Feelings Club, Julie's work. You all do beautiful, beautiful things. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Stay where you are. So the Confetti Market Collective, as we wrap up and we're doing these things out, Allison, I just want to ask you one other thing, and we talked about it briefly last night. So as we're wrapping up, this might be a little bit, this is still vibrant, and I think it's worth saying. Allison and I had a really great conversation last night that, you know, she'd love to have all of her artists here, but sometimes having people available during a morning time slot when they have multiple jobs, sometimes art is, you know, viewed as privilege, right? And there's a lot of women, a lot of people of color, a lot of everybody who don't have the privilege to do this. So how do you also bring vibrancy through the entire human experience? Not like this is a big question or anything, but like, why is this meaningful to you to be able to showcase some of these artists too?
For me in life, through all the ups and downs, I cope through making, through creating. And so many of us do, and you can't house it all in your guest bedroom. So the world needs to see your gift. So I wanted a safe space to provide for artists of all levels, because the other thing is a lot of people don't place a lot of importance on novice art, but it can be as beautiful and as much appreciated as something that's seasoned. So I think it's important to respect an artist's journey regardless of where they are, and give them an opportunity to present that out to the public and connect with the public.
Thank you so very, very much. We love that. And again, you deserve confetti, so I hope to see you there because it is a joyful space. All of you, please give this lovely collective another round of applause.